Welcome to the Sir Lenny Henry Centre for Media Diversity at Birmingham City University. My name's Diane Kemp. I'm one of 4 people who are the core group of this new centre. And my colleagues in this work are Sir Lenny Henry, Ryder and Marverine Duffy. We can't bring you the public launch we were hoping for, but we do want to introduce the centre to you. So this short video will outline the issues we'll be looking to investigate, the ethos of how the centre plans to work, and some of the approaches we'll be taking across the next 5 years. The most important point to make is that we believe passionately in being collaborative, sharing information, research, experience and good practice, valuing the strengths and rigour which those in academia and the media industry have to offer when it comes to solving problems, in this case, how we make the media more diverse in terms of its workforce and therefore its output. In this video, Marcus will talk about our plans for the centre. Marverine has a panel of experts sharing their experience of the obstacles to diversity. There's new research on representation on TV, and we'll finish with Sir Lenny on why this work is so important to us all.
Friends, colleagues, academics, and fellow media professionals. I started my career in the television industry by chance, back in 1987. As a teenager, I attended a week-long film and television course targeting black people. After that, I was given a summer work placement at Chedo, a black film collective. Both were supported by public funds in one way or another, and both were attempts to increase diversity in the industry. I mention this because diversity is not inevitable, and progress is not always a straight line. Since 1987, the number of individual attempts by broadcasters, trade unions, and other organisations, like the public funders I benefited from, to increase diversity have been literally countless. At the same time, official statistics for people of colour, women, disabled people, LGBTQ+, and all various types of diversity have gone both up and down. Why? Diversity happens through deliberate actions and policies. We need to learn what policies have caused diversity to go up, and we also need to learn what has caused it to go down. Which is why I am so excited to be making this speech today, announcing the launch of the Sir Lenny Henry Centre for Media Diversity. We are here to increase the diversity in the media by helping generate and build the evidence for the right, deliberate actions and policies. Policies to increase diversity in the media industry must be 1. Data-driven. 2. Supported by the best academic analysis. And 3. Based on the lessons, both positive and negative, of what has gone before them. It is on these 3 principles that the Sir Lenny Henry Centre for Media Diversity is based on. The Centre will seek to improve factual knowledge throughout the industry when it comes to diversity. We have already started doing this by collecting all the diversity reports and facts and figures published by broadcasters, unions, trade guilds, and academics dating back to the beginning of the millennium and beyond, and giving people easy access to them. When appropriate, we will give these reports a platform so they can be heard more widely. The Centre is already working with academics across institutions to both support their work and enable us to analyse what is going right and wrong in the industry when it comes to diversity. And possibly, most importantly, we are seeking to systematically capture the institutional memory and experience of people working in the media industry, because we believe all too often we are losing this valuable institutional memory and we ignore the lived experiences of people in the industry at a heavy cost. Today is the start of the centre, but we are surrounded by both the giants of media diversity that have gone before us and the ruins of diversity policies that have failed. Let us stand on the shoulders of those diversity giants before us and help wipe away the failed policies forever. Together, we can make a better industry for everyone. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Jami Rogers, and I research inequality in the live and recorded arts. The research being previewed for the opening of the Sir Lenny Henry Centre for Media Diversity at Birmingham City University was commissioned by Equity's Race Equality Committee. Unfortunately, there is not time in this videocast to detail the full study, so this mini-lecture provides some highlights. The full report with the study's methodology and its findings will be available from Equity and on the Sir Lenny Henry Centre website in the near future. To begin with, here are some of the study's key findings. Severe underrepresentation of East Asians and Middle Easterners, programming that segregates non-white narratives, leading roles were played by a non-white actor only 8% of the time, and the continuing depiction of ethnic minorities as stereotypes. The full methodology and results will be available in the report, but it is worth noting the scope of the study. Using the Radio Times as the main source material, supplemented by other resources such as Spotlight, the survey comprises 992 episodes of scripted drama and comedy, which were broadcast during peak hours in the calendar year of 2018 on BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and Channel 4. The aggregate demographic breakdown for 2018 peak hour programming was 82% white performers, with the remaining 18% split across the four non-white groups, 9% African Caribbean, 7% South Asian, and 1% East Asian and Middle Easterners. Broken down into genres, we can see that almost half, 49% of the peak broadcast schedule, were continuing dramas. That is, the 6 programs which in total make up almost half the broadcaster's scripted output: Casualty, Coronation Street, EastEnders, Emmerdale, Holby City, and Hollyoaks. The remaining 51% breaks down as continuing drama at 20%, comedy at 15% of the output, mystery 9%, and period drama 5%. While program-level data and the aggregate numbers are important, what was more instructive was in how diversity is spread out within the disparate genres. When the 992 episodes were broken into their respective categories, there was a noticeable difference to their collective demographic. As you can see from the chart on the screen, contemporary drama and mystery were the most inclusive genres in 2018, while period drama, comedy, and continuing drama were the least inclusive. You can also see from this chart that the representation for African Caribbeans was consistently higher than that of other ethnic groups. It is also consistent across all 5 genres that East Asians and Middle Easterners are severely underrepresented. This underrepresentation of East Asians and Middle Easterners comes into stark relief within the program-level data for the continuing drama genre. Within it, there are no recurring characters played by a performer from East Asian heritage across any of those 6 programs. And across the 53 weeks of monitoring, there were a total of 15 appearances by an East Asian actor, which is out of the 491 episodes in the survey. While underrepresentation continues to deny performers opportunities, the program-level data of the contemporary drama genre is also illustrative of another problem of the ways in which the broadcasters are approaching diversity. The breakdown of ethnicity for the output in what we list here as contemporary drama has the greatest levels of participation within the 6 broad categories monitored here. The category consists of 44 separate serials, recurring series, and standalone dramas that were broadcast in 2018, and fall into the contemporary drama category. Overall, its demographics were 71% white, 12% African Caribbean, 13% South Asian, 3% East Asian, and 1% Middle Eastern. 4 of the 44 programs were set and filmed in either Africa, the Indian subcontinent, or Asia, which the BBC's Black Earth Rising and Our Girl, and ITV's Strangers and Good Karma Hospital. While a 5th program, Channel 4's Ackley Bridge, is set in a British Pakistani academy school in Yorkshire. These 5 programs are singled out as their demographic breakdowns individually and collectively show that they are much more diverse than the overall averages of the contemporary genre subset. Because the 5 programs provide higher representation for people of South Asian and East Asian heritage, South Asian inclusion falls by nearly 50% when these 5 programs are removed from the genre averages. East Asian representation, already at extremely low levels, also falls by 50% when Strangers is removed from the contemporary drama data sample. These programming choices reinforce the myth that all people of color are immigrants, particularly as a proportion of this programming casts British actors as foreigners. Why are these patterns important to understand, and, more importantly, for the broadcasters to change? Because the anecdotal data is not new, and the ways in which the broadcasters have dealt with their diversity problems continues to exacerbate the glass ceiling and perpetuate wider cultural stereotypes. In January 2016, Idris Elba gave an address at the Houses of Parliament on the state of diversity in British television. The hour-long speech was a clarion call for diversity in all its forms, including gender, disability, sexual orientation, social background, and, of course, ethnicity. One of the most pertinent statements in Elba's speech was his recollection of an industry that refused to see him as anything other than a stereotype. My agent and I, we'd get scripts, and we were always asked to read the black male character, or the athletic type, and that was just Crime Watch. But when a script called for a black male, it wasn't describing a character, it was describing a skin color. A white man, or a Caucasian, was described as a man with a twinkle in his eye. The inequality within the industry is almost as old as television itself, and the attitudes that were prevalent in the 1950s have continued to inform the ways in which casting operates as shorthand stereotypes. In Daryl Newton's Paving the Empire Road, BBC Television and Black Britons, he notes that the BBC's then head of drama television, in a 1950s internal survey, found that the corporation's programming was inclusive of African Caribbeans, but only when the program offered suitable roles. Quote unquote. Those suitable roles were cliches that to some extent continue to be promulgated in 21st century television. Then they were butlers, maids, nurses, bus conductors, tube staff, waiters, and waitresses. This now includes physicians, NHS staff, the best friend of the white lead, but almost never the lead. Even when the programming is set overseas, as those 5 examples I cited earlier, only one of those I singled out has a non-white lead. This continuation of stereotypes is key to understanding where the industry is when it comes to its lack of diversity, because it is not a numbers game, which is how it is often painted in reductive reports. To return to Idris Elba's address at Parliament, he also stated, and I was like, I want to play the character with a twinkle in his eyes. So I got to a certain point in my career, and I saw that glass ceiling. I was very close to hitting my forehead on it. I was busy, I was getting lots of work, but I realized I could only play so many best friends or gang leaders. I knew I wasn't going to land a lead role. I knew there wasn't enough imagination in the industry for me to be seen as a lead. This last excerpt encapsulates the decades-long struggle for both acceptance and equality in an industry that continues to underutilize the country's diverse talent in the live and recorded arts. Thank you very much for your attention.
This launch would be incomplete if we didn't hear from industry. So we asked experts two things. One, why they think it's taken so long to effect lasting change, and two, what they believe needs to happen for the industry to become more representative of the UK.
There's lots of passion and enthusiasm from broadcasters, and when you look at what we see on screen and on air, there is things are certainly changing and there is improvement. But in order to make this sustainable, you really need to look at what's happening off air, and still there isn't the diversity that's needed. And I think that what's happened is over time there have been various schemes, various initiatives, and they've had some impact, but they haven't had a lasting impact. I think the key is that we need to ensure that change is structural and it's deep, and that diversity is hardwired into the DNA of broadcasters, because only at that point are you going to get sustainable change.
I've been in the broadcasting industry for nearly 40 years, and it is deeply disappointing that we're still having to have these conversations around representation, diversity, inclusion. I think part of the problem is that it always feels like Groundhog Day. We keep hearing of new initiatives that are going to be the ones that really solve the problem, and nobody stops to actually evaluate them. We have had so many special schemes over the years that are designed to bring in people from underrepresented backgrounds, people coming on disability schemes, on schemes for people from ethnic minorities. Where are all these people 5 years on, 10 years on? We really need to understand which schemes work and why. If people leave prematurely, we need to understand what it is about the industry that may be putting up barriers. We need to understand what are the practices that are worth embedding and which will bring about lasting change. I don't want to be having these conversations in another 4 decades' time.
I strongly believe that journalism needs all kinds of voices and not just one voice. And by having a greater diversity of voices in our newsrooms, I think it will lead to stronger, richer and more authentic journalism. Not only will it more accurately reflect the communities that we serve and the society we live in, I do believe that it will actually lead to us reaching out to new readerships who maybe currently feel that news doesn't speak to them or that they're not being listened to. I firmly believe that diversity in journalism needs to be viewed as not some kind of luxury or ideal that we need to aim to achieve in some kind of perfect world, but something that's an absolute necessity and crucial to the future of the industry.
We need to create environments where people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different lived experiences can thrive and get to those positions of power. So they are in the room when key decisions are being made. Key decisions about what news stories to go for, what shows to commission, who to cast in those shows, and also critically, who should be making those shows. And in order to get to that point, we really need to understand what are the initiatives, what are the approaches, what are the interventions that are really successful in making sure that those people can get to those positions. And when we understand those, we can develop them as an industry and we can roll them out so that everybody will be able to get on board.
How do we bring about change? I would lay down a challenge to every single media organisation, big or small, and say, how can you connect better with your audiences? One of the best ways to do it is to have more people in your production teams, in your newsrooms, who will represent the audience in a way that they recognise. And you know, it's up to every single person in a production team to take responsibility to say, okay, who are the missing voices here? How can we proactively go out and find those people and bring them in? How can we amplify them, support them, develop the talent so that they are the people helping make decisions about the stories that are told and how they're told? Because in the end, the reason we're in this business is to communicate with audiences, to tell fresh stories, better stories, accurate stories, things that will engage people's imaginations. And we can do that best when we have a diverse range of life experience in the people who are imagining and reporting and telling those stories. So don't wait around for somebody else to do it. This is your responsibility, something that you could change in your everyday working life. Do it.
The biggest thing that's needed is a complete change in mindset. Newsrooms need to think about hiring people who are completely different from what they currently have in their newsrooms, rather than taking on the kind of people they've always taken on. They need to take on people who are still talented but different, while retaining the ethics of hiring the best person for the job. I think there also needs to be a shift in the centre of gravity when it comes to journalism. Too many media outlets, particularly national media, are very London-centric when it comes to their hiring. And in today's modern world of not needing to be sat in an office in London somewhere and being able to work from a laptop anywhere in the country, I think there's no reason why there shouldn't be greater diversity when it comes to journalism geographically, as well as increasing diversity in all its forms.
My media career spans 32 years, the last 17 of those as a journalist, and in that time I've witnessed some really encouraging change, but I've also heard firsthand some really unpleasant stories from people who've left the industry or even felt forced to leave. Now, I'm really excited to be part of the centre and the work we're going to be doing, and I really do believe that robust research and data are going to form the route map for positive, lasting change.
I'm Professor Alison Honour, and I'm the Pro-Vice Chancellor and Executive Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Design and Media at Birmingham City University. We're super excited about the launch of the Sir Lenny Henry Centre for Media Diversity. We know how important this work is going to be, not just for our students, our staff, but also the industries that we work so closely with. We hope that we can change the way in which stories are told, who tells those stories, and make sure that the work that we do will change the future of those creative industries.
Hello my friends, and thank you for joining me in this virtual space. If you're watching this video, it means you either care passionately about diversity or you're working from home, have binge-watched all of Stranger Things, and it's either this or talking to your family. These are unusual, difficult, even scary times, but if the last few days have shown us anything, it's that when things are tough, people always find a way to come together. That's what I'd like to talk to you about today, bringing people together, because that's what diversity and inclusion is really all about. Opening doors, welcoming people in and extending your hand, then obviously washing that hand while singing happy birthday twice. Right now, our industry is not bringing people together. At present, only 13.6% of TV directors are women. Only 0.4% of journalists are Muslim, and worst of all, disabled people make up just 0.3% of the film workforce. I haven't seen a figure that bad since Donald Trump was photographed wearing tennis shorts. So how do we create a more representative media industry? A place where when I'm invited to join a FaceTime meeting, some of those faces look like me. I speak from experience, of course. I spent over 40 years at the BBC and was always invariably the only black person in the room. I was self-isolating before it was mainstream, people. The way forward in these difficult times must be all of us working together, which is why I'm so proud and excited to launch the Centre for Media Diversity. Our aim is to create an institutional memory by combining everybody's experience, knowledge, skills, and using them to effect real change. I believe that within every hardship there is hope. Yes, planes are grounded, but that means less pollution. We're all stuck at home, but we're using technology to reach out to each other. And while it's a shame Glastonbury is cancelled, let's face it, all the loo roll in the world wasn't going to help you in those toilets. So let's find the hope in our adversity. Let's build a future where individual policies for disability, gender and race diversity are shared across the entire industry. Let's harness our collective experience and start seeing diversity not as a problem to be solved, but a brilliant resource with endless reserves. That's why the most popular show online right now is Idris Elba's coronavirus video. Seriously, Corona, you think you can take on Luther? Good luck. The name above the door might be the Sir Lenny Henry Centre for Media Diversity, but I'm going to hold the door open for everyone to walk through. I can't wait for you to join me. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thank you for listening.